Good evening, everyone. The City of Grand Haven regular City Council meeting of April 17th, 2023 is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Fritz?
Here.
Lowe? Here. McLaughlin?
Here.
Cummins?
Here.
McNally?
Here. The invocation tonight will be delivered by Pastor Marshall Holtfluer of Covenant Life Church. Would everyone please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pastor, thanks for coming.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. Let's join together in prayer. Father, we begin this prayer by asking for you to just bless us. We're thankful for this wonderful place that we get to call home, Grand Haven, a beautiful place that we get to enjoy and where we can learn how to better serve others. We pray, Lord, for this upcoming season in Grand Haven that we will see many new events and celebrations where families will be gathered, where we as a city will get to host visitors, and may we host those who visit us well. Remind us, Lord, that all that we have is yours, and that the fact that you allow us to be hosts in Grand Haven is a privilege. And so we thank you, Lord. We think of all the events that are on the agenda for tonight. May they be events that are done safely. May they be done in a way that says to all that they belong here as well. And Father, we thank you that we get to be part of this incredible town. We thank you, Lord, for the board members tonight as they discuss the events and other agenda items like sustainability and energy, musical fountain, Mulligan's Hollow basketball courts, and parking improvements. Lord, you are the creator of all things. And so we give you this evening and pray that you would give wisdom to the board, give them integrity in their decisions and courage to stand for what's true. May they be fair and balanced in the work they do as well. Father, we thank you for our first responders. We thank you for our police, fire, and Coast Guard employees, and we pray that you'd keep them safe as they serve us and as they assist us in welcoming others into our community. Finally, Lord, may the board meeting and discussion tonight point in the direction of care for our community and for one another, but mostly in the direction for you. We love you, Jesus, and we pray this in your name alone. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. First order of business on the agenda is a reappointment. Would you read it for us, please, Maria?
Jim Bonamy, Economic Development Corporation / Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, with a term ending of March 31st, 2029.
Could I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And is there support?
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank Jim for continuing to serve even after retirement.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having him on there because a wealth of knowledge for us on that board. So thank you, Jim.
I echo both sentiments and would ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Fritz?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Lowe? Yes. McNally?
Yes. At this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent and regular agendas.
So moved.
In support.
McLaughlin moved. Got it. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe? Yes. Cummins?
Yes.
McNally?
Yes. This is the opportunity. It's the first call to the audience. It's one of two opportunities. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration but may not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may call in at 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers.
Can I just begin?
You can.
Perfect. Thank you and good evening.
Hey, could you state your name, please?
Oh, yes. I am Jacob Welch, and I live at 625 Franklin Avenue in Grand Haven.
I'm here as a representative of the Board of Light and Power Charter Change Coalition, and today we are announcing an effort to change our city charter to transfer our electrical energy services to a new Department of Energy Services. The BLP CCC is a successor organization to the former Grand Haven Energy Organization, which successfully persuaded the council to end plans of the BLP to build a power plant operations and office building on Harbor Island in 2021. We are young and we are older. We come from different political views, but share a common belief that our electric energy should be provided to us by an organization that is more transparent, more future-oriented, and more responsive to local people and ratepayers. The Board of Light and Power was created in a new city charter 64 years ago. Back then, Eisenhower was the president, Fidel Castro was coming to power in Cuba, Barbie doll was just invented, and Hawaii became our 50th state. Then Grand Haven was operating a diesel electricity generating plant and was constructing a new coal generating plant on Harbor Island. With the complexity of the city generating electrical power from two different plants, the 1959 city charter revision created the BLP as an unusual department of the city, one that was controlled and directed by an elected board. In recent years, with the closure of the Sims plant, the BLP has gone from being an energy producer with 83 employees to a distribution utility with just 42. The 1959 organization that worked well for years is now creating undue tension, with the BLP at odds with our city government. Times have changed and the BLP's role have changed dramatically, but the arrangement between the BLP and the city has not yet modernized. It's time to reflect this role in the city charter and how this department should be governed and managed. You'll begin to see us at public events and perhaps at your front door as we work to collect the signatures to put the issue before Grand Haven voters in November. Here are a few of the important issues regarding this transition. First, the city's electric utility will continue to be publicly owned and operated. Importantly, the charter amendment will not impact the exceptional services provided by our linemen and our customer service teams. The discord between the City Council and the BLP over environmental and sustainability issues will disappear. The change to the charter will facilitate the cleanup efforts on Harbor Island, as well as initiatives to address other sustainability and environmental issues, some of which you will hear about this evening from Brittany Good. The new advisory commission will consist of 7 members. The 5 elected members of the BLP will transition to this advisory commission and will serve until their terms end, at which point the City Council will appoint their successors. A member of the City Council will also serve on the advisory commission, as well as the city manager in an ex officio capacity. The net result of the proposed city charter amendment will be a Department of Energy Services that is more future-oriented, more efficient, more transparent, and more responsive to local people and ratepayers. Our website with more info and opportunities is blpccc.org. Thank you, and let's move forward together.
Thank you, Mr. Welch.
Hi, my name is Carol LaCoe, and I live at 78 Grand Avenue here in Grand Haven. I'm here tonight to question the legality of selling alcoholic beverages from drink carts located in the Commons Area Social District. Why? Because the Michigan Liquor Control Commission does not allow alcoholic liquor to be sold in the Commons areas. The Michigan Gov site says a retailer that holds a license to sell alcoholic liquor may sell alcoholic liquor for on-premise consumption on its licensing premises only, and must not sell alcoholic liquor in the Commons area. Let me repeat what the retailers must not do. They must not sell alcoholic liquor in the Commons area. Despite this caveat, there were drink carts in the Commons area on Washington Avenue last year, and I understand they will be there again this year. Did the retailers who put them there in the Commons area get permission from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission? Did they get a waiver or a variance or something? If yes, how? I wasn't able to find anything that indicates that was an option. If they did get permission from the Michigan Liquor Commission, when and why was it granted? And if they didn't get an okay from the MLCC, will those drink carts be back again this year?
Thank you, ma'am.
Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to, I'm going to speak about the basketball court project at Mulligan's Hollow. And I'd like to thank Ashley and Ryan for getting back to me this afternoon on my 5 emails. And what my main point is, this project was a project that was started in 2019. This was before the pandemic, before major liabilities have been incurred by our city, namely Harbor Island, which we have now 65 million budgeted, unfunded pension plans. We've closed the old pension plan to new hires, but we have a $28.4 million unfunded liability. The basketball project is going to cost $620,975, of which $362,675 is going to be paid for by the city. The city has so many more priorities to use their funds. The basketball court, it's a great project, but it's not the time for it. We don't have the excess funds to put it in. And I'd like to just comment on a few other things about it. Namely, let me talk about the contours on that site. I think you all received the email. I don't know if you all looked at it, but it was from the GIS system, Ottawa Counties. There's a fair drop on that site. I estimated maybe a 7-foot retaining wall where it touches the sidewalk, or maybe, I shouldn't say touches, extremely near. On the drawing it looks like it touches. There's probably a foot or two of separation. I was corrected by the city manager, it's actually 9 feet. You know, we don't need a massive concrete large block retaining wall there. You know, I live in that area. I do not want to walk by it and look at it. And the other thing, why are we putting basketball courts across from our condos? The Sandpiper condos, the new condos. I played basketball for 35 years. I can guarantee you, and a lot of it was on a playground. It's very noisy. The balls are bouncing. We and I suspect the people here will be playing until dark. The condos don't need it. The city can't really afford it. Something that was decided in 2009 is ancient history. You know, let's be leaders. Let's look at the current situation and the future. Can we really afford to spend it? We should be spending it on our unfunded pensions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
How are you? My name is Deb Reimel. I live at 13275 Greenleaf Lane. I apologize, first of all, I just realized that you had a meeting tonight. I've been on vacation and we came home to a flooded basement, so we've been dealing with that. So I am not prepared, so I'm just speaking from my heart. I don't really have anything written down, but I'm here today to speak about Gay Pride Month. I'm just wondering how it happened. I've tried to look into whether or not city funds are used, our tax dollars are being used. That's something I'd like to know. And I'm just curious as to why we've got one day for our veterans and we've got an entire month now for Gay Pride. I'm just wondering. Now let me tell you this, I speak from experience. There's been tragedy in our family, separated by division with lifestyle choices. It's been very sad, and so I'm coming here in love because I want to tell truth in love. What we don't know about some of these lifestyles and choices are that there's 3,000 times more spousal abuse than in heterosexual. There's 2 to 3 times more suicide. And if there's a transgender operation done, the hormone blocking chemicals create 14 types of cancers. And most likely, if they're transgendering, they will die of cancer. So, you know, am I for that? No. I'm speaking with love in my heart. I speak with compassion because I have friends who have chosen that lifestyle, but again, and family members, and we see the devastation. So as an analogy, you know, I'm not for a crooked lawyer or politician, but you know, they're not parading in the streets telling me that I should be for them, and that having our children to be involved, they're not telling me that we need to accept how crooked they are. They don't go into a children's story hour and convince them that a healthy, normal lifestyle is cheating people. And so I want to know too that I saw the website said tentative up until I checked today, and there was a drag queen story hour on there for children. That upsets me. I don't want to indoctrinate our children into a lifestyle that I deem is destructive. And I don't think that you would like to see your children or your grandchildren into a failing, to me, a failing lifestyle. And again, I have nothing but love, and I'm telling truth and love today, and that's, I need to take that courage. I need to take that step. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't at least say that. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
Joanne Held, 1121 Waverly Avenue. Very short. I just want to say concerning the Gay Pride event that is planned, I'd like to ask everybody, how well did that work out for Budweiser? I think backlash is going to be a word that we're going to hear more and more in the news about various things, and I'm already hearing people in the community talk about not taking their business downtown if you go forward with that. So it is something to consider for our town. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
The Reverend Dr. Jared Kramer. I live at 11571 Oak Grove Road in Grand Haven Township, and I'm the priest at St. John's across the street. I'm speaking to you tonight as a member of the committee putting together the Pride Festival, and I want to say I'm so grateful for the hard work of the 24, 25 people who've come together from the community to put together this plan for a fun, family-friendly activity where everyone can be celebrated exactly for how God created them to be. 2 years ago, when you all approved us doing our first Pride worship service, I thought I'd get 30, 40 people down there. We had almost 200 people on Waterfront Stadium for that celebration. It was wonderful. Had a great worship service last year. But realized that it needs to be bigger than just something my church does, that it needs to be something open to everyone in the community, and it needs to be a festival that's not just a religious opportunity, but there are people who have experienced profound religious trauma in the LGBTQ community. And that's why the worship service this year is being planned to be at 10 o'clock before the festival starts, so that the festival itself can focus solely on pride, on supporting people, and on making it clear that Grand Haven is a place where everyone is truly welcome. The gay and lesbian members of our community contribute so much to who we are as a city. They own businesses, they raise children. I've got several of them that go to my church. They are amazing families with amazing, amazing things to offer. I'm also hosting the Lakeshore GSA youth group at our church, which is a group of kids who represent the LGBTQ community and allies. These are some of the strongest, most insightful, wise, funny, awesome kids you'll ever experience. And I'll let you know that the support is there in the community, actually. We are hoping to raise about $20,000 in sponsorships for the event. I started fundraising on Thursday. I've already raised about $10,000. And so the support's there from businesses and organizations that want to support it, and we know that it's not for everyone, and that's what I love about Grand Haven, is that there's space for everyone here. Pride's not their thing. They can just not go to the festival that day. That's okay. But for those for whom it's important, we'll demonstrate that truly all people belong in the city of Grand Haven. Thanks.
Thank you, Reverend.
I'll be quick. I'm Annie Baker. Address is 110 North Harbor Drive. And I'm here on behalf of the Grand Haven Human Relations Commission to express our support and excitement for the Grand Haven Pride Festival. Our city thrives, as we know, when we come together to create safe and social spaces to foster a healthy community. The Pride Festival is locally organized and all volunteer-led, and it's a wonderful opportunity for our city to live into its values of diversity and belonging while celebrating our vibrant community. And on behalf of the HRC, I would also like to thank you for the consideration and approval of amending our residency requirements a couple meetings ago. That's going to help us move forward as we evolve as a group, and I appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mike Westbrook, 423 Lafayette Avenue. I'm here tonight as a private citizen. I am chairman of the board of the Grand Haven Light and Power, and I'm not speaking tonight on behalf of the Board of Light and Power. I want to tell you how surprised I was by this proposed change to the city charter by the CCC. Am I getting that right? Yeah. The drafters of this amendment appear to have been working on this for months. I have a few questions to ponder. Is there a reason that BLP board members would not be made aware of the efforts of this group? I had no idea. Have city officials been communicating with them over time? With regards to public transparency and openness of the amendment process, it would seem appropriate to notify and consult with those elected utility representatives most affected by this change in an effort to best serve the community and the board's utility customers. The purpose of this board is to grant voters direct control over their utility with accountability for ensuring highly reliable, sustainable, and affordable power. It's an unusual step to take away an the elected representation, even more unusual that this process was conducted with no transparency at all. Again, we were not notified of any desire to dissolve our elected board in any recent public comments. The BLP's recent customer satisfaction surveys are overwhelmingly positive, so it's difficult to understand the purpose of this grassroots initiative. Who or what organizations influenced the petition? Just a few more questions to ponder. Who is the attorney that was hired to draft the amendment? Who is hired and paid for their services? Again, just questions that pop into mind. The Board of Light and Power has earned consistently high ratings for reliability and customer service over the past several years. In fact, the BLP reliability ratings are among the highest of any municipal utility in the nation. BLP earned a diamond level certification from the American Public Power Association. The results again of our customer satisfaction surveys and independent business readiness risk analysis are equally impressive. If this is the case, what is motivating a need for a charter amendment? Current board seats are 6-year terms to allow for the development of expertise and stability when making decisions about very technical subject matter, such as power purchasing, organized labor relations, capital planning, and strategic initiatives. How will an appointed committee without accountability to the elected people of this community maintain continuity of expertise on these subjects and make informed, unbiased decisions? How is the city planning to maintain the financial reserves necessary for capital expenses and pension plannings for its utility? Or most importantly, will the city have access to BLP funds to cover debt or liabilities for other city departments? I stand here tonight very proud of the BLP, and they give an excellent service to this community, and I just want to make sure I make my voice loud and clear, and I firmly believe that. Look forward to working with the community on this one and the council, and we'll see you guys all on April 26th for our dinner and meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay.
Mike Weavers, excuse me, 637 Lake Avenue. A couple of these things are just renewing what I stated during the budget meeting a few days ago. One is I'm going to once again encourage you to engage with the MME Organization for Assistance for the Community. It's Michigan Municipal Executives. It's people who have done city management work for decades and have fixed many communities, including Pontiac, Detroit. Actually, one of them fixed this town over 20 years ago and got in trouble before. So I'd like the council to seriously consider that. It's to my knowledge, free, and they're here to help. So that's one. Two, the city calendar. Ms. Lowe wanted to ask it once again. I suggested at that last meeting that we look for sponsors. We put pretty pictures, but that doesn't mean much if we don't have a calendar at all. So I'm suggesting that we sell advertising, and I think that will easily cover the calendar, which I think everybody likes, including myself. In regards to Harbor Island, one more thing I brought up during the last meeting, I'd like you to look in seriously into turning it into a marina and possibly a cruise ship dock where the coal boats docked. The reason I like this possibility is that, one, there's a layer of ash and then there's a layer of garbage that most people may never know. I didn't realize it went under the power plant. I remember the 60s when we dumped into the swamp where the soccer fields are. Anyways, so this was new to me. But to get rid of all of it, and let's do this thing right, we're probably going to have to excavate 10 feet into the water table. That's a marina. And there's no point filling it in to make a park when we've got something that could also be quite beneficial. Same with the cruise ship dock for our downtown people. 4, in regards to the basketball courts, it's a nice want, but it's not a need. We're $360,000 short, plus a little, by my math. I drove by. The current basketball courts are 4 poles on a parking lot. Can't even tell what it is. We've got roads in substantially worse shape in that area. So I would tell you, push on that one. Doesn't mean we won't do it. It just doesn't have to be this year when we got so many other things on our plate. And the other thing I'd like you to push on is you voted to, I think 3-2, to change Franklin to a 2-way street for 5 blocks. Columbus still isn't right. I still make mistakes. I have suggestions to fix that, but why don't we push that? That's $10,000 more we can save for this year. So I'd like you to push that to next year. These are ideas, suggestions. There's plenty of them in this town. We've got a lot of people here. This venue isn't really set up for a great dialogue. You say you'll listen, but right in the headline you say, don't expect us to say a word back to you. I think we need to change that. I think that's why a lot of people got fired last time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Hello, I'm here for the Merchants and Makers Chinook Pier Market that we have on the agenda tonight. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew to come out this summer if it's approved. It's a really fun market. I'm excited for you guys to talk about it, whatever has to happen. It's a great community event, and so grateful that we have the city of Grand Haven and a beautiful location to get to do that at. So.
Okay, Shally, you have to say your name and
Oh,
your
I'm
address.
so sorry. I was so excited. Shyle Lyons, and do I have to say my address?
Address if you
Okay,
would, yeah.
1324 Hillcrest Street.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for making me official. I appreciate it.
Okay, moving on. We've got 2 presentations on the agenda this evening. The first is Sustainability and Energy Commission update, and it's Brittany Good, the chair, the Sustainability and Energy Commission chair, who will give it to us. Hi, Brittany. Thanks for coming.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I don't think I've spoke up here since we became a committee last summer, so it's good to be back. My name is Brittany Good. I live at 428 North 6th Street. I also work for Aldea Coffee downtown. Thank you all again for just approving our committee and helping us become an actual entity. It has made all the difference. After years and years of all of us working separately on different projects, now that you're really seeing that force come together has made a big difference. I also want to thank Ashley and Brian from the bottom of my heart. They have literally supported us every step of the way. The progress that has been made because of their involvement, it is just incredible. I honestly could not thank them more. I don't know how to, but one of the tasks that we were given was to achieve gold in the My Green Communities Assessment. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with what that is, but it was created to give cities a platform to kind of evaluate where they're at, and last year we were silver. Brian and I worked endlessly the past 6 months, and we did achieve gold this year. So we're very proud of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We also documented every single question, and so we know exactly why we answered what we did. Once I transcribe those notes, I'll be able to send those out so everyone can see what we actually did to achieve that. By working through the My Green Communities Assessment, it opened up an opportunity for us to be a part of an accelerator cohort. So every month we're going through they're like 3 or 4 hour meetings where people from across the state are sharing their stories and speaking to communities about where they can improve and how to, and so it's breaking down different areas. So this past week, we had the honor to have a consultant come and talk to us about stormwater infrastructure, and so Brian and I walked through the city with him and just talked about different areas that we can improve in the future when we have to do any sort of edits to the roads, or as we're building Chinook Pier, we looked at the diesel plant a little bit and just areas that we can maybe mitigate that a little bit better. We have also have the opportunity to have a fellow come from U of M, and they will be working with Brian this summer to measure greenhouse gases. So really excited to meet that person and work with them. I'm sure many of you know, but I've worked with students at Grand Valley for a really long time, so I'm excited to work with someone from U of M this year, and especially a grad student. We also have 3 members on our committee right now working on the forest management plan. You all approved that recently, so they are taking that and some of the work that Larry Burns has been doing, and they'll be able to assist and just answer any questions and hopefully work on funding for that project, which I was very impressed with what they came to the table with this past week at our meeting. So excited to see how that all comes together. We have our community energy plan. Ryan Cotton is leading that group. We have, I think, almost all of the communities that are affected by the BLP on board at this point. We have received 2 grants, one from the Community Foundation and one from Eagle, and those were probably some of my favorite days this year. Just what a huge accomplishment for our group to really receive that funding. Ashley will update you more on some of the action items that we have and what next steps we have, but that's going through her. And also we did go present at the BLP a couple of weeks ago and just update them on where we were at. Community engagement, probably my favorite part. Our Earth Day beach cleanup is coming up this Saturday. As many of you know, in the past I have hosted that through my job at Aldea, and this year so honored that I get to host that from the city of Grand Haven. I think that shows a lot about our commitment to sustainability. The following Saturday...
Brittany, you want to give the times maybe for people?
Yeah, so the beach cleanup is from 10 to 12 on Saturday. Just meet right by the bathrooms at the head of the pier there, and all the supplies and everything that you need are provided for us. And yeah, just excited to see the turnout this year. Everybody please manifest the weather straightens up, because it looks like it might be cold. And then the following week is the Lakeshore Earth Day celebration that has been going on for many, many years. These people have put together an incredible event this year, more vendors than I can even imagine. I'm very excited about it. So that is the following week at the Central Park Place, and that starts at noon with the Green March and 1 o'clock with the fair. Do you have any questions?
Wow. Got that all out in 2 minutes. That was pretty good.
Okay, I could keep going if you want to know more, but.
No, I want to congratulate you and Patty and everybody, David and everybody that's been involved with that. It's something that I know is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts in this town, and I'm glad you're moving forward with it. And I want to thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. I did forget to mention that Brian and I had the honor of actually being at the My Healthy Climate Conference in Detroit last week. Brian spoke on a panel about just community engagement and getting this communities off the ground, and there were a lot of people that were asking a lot of questions on how Grand Haven got this started, so he was able to answer those. We got to see Governor Whitmer speak. That was pretty powerful, and just be around 600 other people just leading the way for the state of Michigan.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I guess I want to also say, wow, really in a short period of time to pull together so many passionate individuals under a city manager kind of informed type committee is really impressive. The work that you've done going from silver to gold. And Ashley says on a frequent basis, you know, we should celebrate our successes. And so I appreciate you being here to, we have lots we need to improve in our community, and we know that, and we hear about those things, but we don't always hear about the great, positive, good things that are going on. So I appreciate you being here. Appreciate your passion, all of your committee members' passion, and that's really all your great work, and kudos to our staff too for supporting you in your endeavors, and hope they know they have our full support to continue that on, and you guys are all doing some great things, so thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Right, I would just like to pile right on, because I think hasn't it been less than a year? It's less than a year that we established the SEC, and you guys all are like birds of a feather. You kind of all came together, all had, and looking at all of these accomplishments, I mean, just some of the baselining that you went through with the My Green Communities and then getting the status raised from silver to gold, but we have a standard that we can measure other communities by and also talk the same language. So wow, kudos to you for that. But it becomes the basis for so much in terms of going for some of these grants. The community energy plan, wow, because it wasn't just about us. And you guys realized that. How do we reach out to some of the other communities, be sort of the incubator, but kind of, under our city council, but be more than that. And you guys are doing that. I could go on, but I'm just super, super excited about where you guys are, what you're doing, all of you. And I know I came to one meeting. I didn't want to influence anything, but I was just so pumped walking out of there with all the energy that you guys have. So congratulations to you and your team, Brittany, and thank you to Brian and Ashley for supporting this group so well.
Thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, I just want to say, echo what everybody else has said. It's no use repeating it, but telling you that you guys have done a fantastic job, Brittany, and your commission is doing exactly what we wanted to do and exceeding going beyond what we ever expected. So thank you so much for all your hard work in that and looking out for everybody in the whole community. So that's what you're doing. So thanks everybody in your whole commission. Thank you.
Yeah, I would definitely love to give a quick shout out to the entire committee. Every single one of them has supported each other so much. Everybody is just working together, and they've all been there for me, because as you know, I work a full-time job too, so sometimes it's really hard for me to get back to them or show up at meetings during the day, and I just get so many emails of updates, just keeping me in the loop on everything that's going on. It's just been an incredible experience.
Very good.
And I echo all of it. I like all of it, but I'm a sucker for the forest management and the beach cleanup, which frankly are two issues very near and dear to my heart. So I want to thank everybody that I see out in the audience that represents the Sustainability and Energy Commission, but I especially want to thank you, Brittany, because you do have a full-time job and you do have, and even before you had a commission backing you up or city support, you were cleaning up the beach, and I can remember last year, I'm ashamed to say I wasn't out there to help, but we drove by afterward and went, what a difference you make. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, the next presentation is by Jerry Troke, and it's he's the chair of the Musical Fountain Committee, and we're getting a Musical Fountain Committee update. Thank you, Jerry, for coming.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here tonight. Thank you for having me. As the mayor mentioned, I'm Jerry Troke. I'm the current chair of the Grand Haven Musical Fountain Committee and also president of the Friends of the Musical Fountain, the nonprofit organization that was founded about 18 months ago to support and fundraise for the fountain. You may recall that the Friends organization is similar in structure and intent to the Lighthouse Conservancy, which it was modeled after. 11 months ago, in the middle of May last year, I was able to give you an update and a preview of our plans for the 60th anniversary year of the Musical Fountain. And as we're on the verge of beginning our 61st season of nightly shows along the Grand Haven waterfront with a tentatively scheduled opening night of Friday, May 12th, we thought it was time to make good on our commitment to keep the City Council updated on our activities. As you know, 2022 marked the 60th year of the Musical Fountain's presence along the Grand Haven waterfront, and we were able to celebrate this important milestone in high style. The fountain's 60th anniversary graphic, designed by Dave Evanowski of Grand Haven Beach Company, was featured on the informational wrap on the old Chinook Pier sign all summer. I think it may still be up there. It was also seen on many of the lamp posts around town, as it was part of the Downtown Development Authority's light lamppost banner program. You could also buy a wearable version of that graphic in the form of a t-shirt at the Grand Haven Beach Company. And by the way, in case you missed it, there is a musical fountain option in this year's Downtown Development Authority banner program as well, so look for it. We also had an exhibit in the front window of the Tri-Cities Historical Museum all summer, basically June, July, and August, with lots of historical archives and artifacts to help tell the history of the museum, or of the fountain. We also commissioned a commemorative artwork by Art Prize winning artist Chris Laporte that was unveiled at the museum in late June and then was on a part of that all summer long museum exhibit until it came down at the end of August. Currently, the original art and all the reprint sizes are available on display or are on display at the lower level of the Loudoun Library. If you haven't been down there near the Stax used bookstore, you can see that image up close and personal, and we're working hard right now to find a permanent home for the original. Posters and prints of this artwork are still available in return for an appropriate donation. You can find information on our website at ghfountain.org under the heading Art. Posters will also be available for retail sale around town this summer at the Frame and Mat Shop and the Museum Gift Shop and right in the Waterfront Stadium at Peace Frogs. The August 27th community-wide celebration and birthday party for the fountain was intended to express our gratitude for these 60 years of generous support by the community. This event packed out the Waterfront Stadium and included many free entertainment options, birthday cupcakes, a brief commemorative program, and concluded by introducing a special theme show called I Am the Fountain, which will now be part of the regular theme show rotation this season. We also unveiled the new Dovetails water feature that was created by a team of engineering students from the Grand Valley State University, and more of our music this year will showcase this new water feature. The 60 for 60 fundraising campaign we ran last year to raise money for all of this activity exceeded our goals and expectations with total donations of nearly $135,000 in cash and in-kind gifts from donors large and small, sponsors, and vendors. This generosity allowed us to invest in approximately $82,000 worth of major improvements and needed maintenance for the fountain. I provided a one-page synopsis of the major items we were able to accomplish, with several more in the works to be completed this year. Additionally, those funds have allowed us to continue to attack a lengthy list of smaller maintenance items and to purchase needed spare parts to ensure that we minimize the risk of having a failure that would force the cancellation of the show. You may recall that 3 days before the show, the celebration last year, we had a major failure on the hill that we were able to recover from because we were already in the process of procuring a part that needed to be purchased, and that is now brand new and shouldn't give us any problems in the future. Since the beginning of the 2021 season, we've been tracking all needed maintenance and improvement items on a master spreadsheet, and I can tell you that the sheet documents nearly 250 items that have been completed since we started keeping track of those. We have our Spring Volunteer Day scheduled for this coming Saturday, April 22nd, and so I share your concern about the weather this weekend. We will do April 29th if we have to reschedule. But we have about 40 more tasks that we hope to knock off by the time we complete our work on Saturday afternoon. We've had personnel up on the hill on a weekly basis since the middle of January, so we've been working hard already this year, working on items from the task list and preparing for the 2023 season, and I can confidently tell you that the fountain is currently in better shape than it's ever been. Unequivocally, 2023 will be a great season. Let me close with an observation that I think serves to underscore the level of community support enjoyed by the foundation, by the fountain. 10 years ago, the fountain had fallen upon some hard times and faced the need to address some serious deficiencies and needed improvements. The Grand Haven community and fountain fans far and wide over the course of 2013 and 14 rallied to the cause to raise funds to replace and restore much of the fountain's inner workings. The Musical Fountain Committee members in place at that time, in partnership with a small army of volunteers and support from Grand Haven City employees, used these funds to restore the fountain to its place of prominence along the waterfront. A resolution passed in 2015 recognized these efforts with this final line, quote, "Now therefore be it resolved that the Grand Haven Mayor and City Council hereby congratulate and thank the Musical Fountain Committee and the volunteers and employees who have resurrected this magnificent waterfront feature through their relentless labor, love, and attention," unquote. Last year's efforts on behalf of the fountain prove that, although many of the faces have changed in the 10 years since that restoration was undertaken, not all of them, some are still around. My vice chair is here, and I think he was involved back then, Andy Cawthon. The fountain still has the same level of community support and commitment from the community, the city, and the volunteers whose labor of love has and will continue to allow the fountain to delight audiences of all ages for years to come. We are all proud to be a part of that effort And I want to thank the City Council and all fountain fans, wherever you might be, for your ongoing support of the fountain. Let's continue to work together to make sure that the fountain is forever. Do you have any questions?
Great brief, Jerry. I'll start with Mike on this one.
I was on council at the time when we did that proclamation to you, so I do remember the times. I do remember how bad it was up there before. And I gotta say, I could commend everybody that worked forward on that to turn it into what it is today. It is a gem. It's one thing that does attract a lot of people here, and it's very entertaining. I go down there, if you have your special nights, to see the kids down there, especially Disney night. It's packed just like Coast Guard Festival. It's unbelievable. And what you guys have done and the money you've raised to take care of that, it doesn't come out of our coffers anymore. It's been very, very, very good. You guys have been good stewards in going forward with the whole thing. It's absolutely unbelievable. So I want to say thank you to everybody that's contributed and everybody that's worked hard up there and done it all. So there's lots of people that have donated, not only their labor, but their money and also goods and stuff on that.
Absolutely.
The list goes on and on and on. So every one of you guys that have been on that committee since day one, you got to say thank you to every one of you. So thank you. It's a vision that we had, our Mayor Creason had back then, and move forward. So it's been here for a long time, and you guys are making it look really good again. So thanks
Bill
again.
Creason's granddaughter, Sally, is now one of our committee members.
Yes, she is. I remember pointing her to it. So yes, very much so. So thank you guys again for all you've done.
Our pleasure.
Kevin?
I want to reiterate what Mike says. Your commitment to the fountain is really unbelievable. And Andy sitting back there, wave your hand, because I know how hard you work on this, Andy. But just from, I think, the bottom of all our hearts, thank you so much for your help and what you do for this community. It's so, people just so much recognized in this community, and frankly around, I had, my daughter came in from New York and thought it was brought my little granddaughter last year and just thought it was spectacular. So I want to thank you for all that.
Karen?
Yeah, Jerry, I think you and Brittany, you guys are just these superstar committees, right? It just shows the power of our citizen-led volunteer when council and we get out of the way and let the people who care about this really go out and solve the problems of funding and moving forward. What amazing things that you do, and congratulations. That's just incredible, because we'd like to see some kind of fund that can help maintain this and innovate forever. My wish for you is that you get to that fundraising portion that you don't have to worry about going out. It's going to maintain itself forever. So, thank you.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'll echo what everybody said, Jerry. Just looking at the list here, how many, in-kind donation, folks donating things, subsidizing things, a lot of volunteer times involved. And I really want to thank you and Andy for your invite last year to tour the fountain. Very different from the other side of the river, but I learned a lot, amazing engineering to learn about when the water features are going off, and when the lights are going off, and when you send the sound ahead of time, and you have to send it at the right angles to make everything actually, match up, and that there's people that are actually in other parts of the country that are programming things and assisting with the fountain. It's just, it's amazing, everything that's involved with it. So big thank you for the tour. You guys threw a great celebration last year, and looking forward to many more great years. Thank you for your work.
Very welcome.
And I was honored to be part of the birthday celebration as mayor, and the fountain goes off about a block and a half. Well, the riverfront's a block from my house, so I'm down there quite a bit, and when I'm not down there, I'm sitting on my porch listening to the fountain. But the evening that you had where the birthday celebration was incredible, and I happened to be waiting backstage with the Grand Valley engineering students who were so excited to see their work transformed into the water feature. It was incredible. So I learned a little bit more about, I guess I would call them fountain geeks, and they were a ton of fun. And you are, and as Karen has said, one of the other highly effective committees that serves our city, and I thank all of you for your work. Thanks, Jerry.
You're very welcome. I will say Ryan was up on the hill last year for a good tour and a close-up view of the fountain. We are always available for any city council member. We're up there most Tuesdays, and if you'd like to join us on Saturday for our work day, please do. Comes with free lunch.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks so much. Okay. I'm going to ask the clerk to read the consent agenda, please.
Item A, approve the bills memo in the amount of $254,814.88. B, approve a special event request to hold Art on the Riverfront on Saturday, August 19, 2023, from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. on the Grand Haven Municipal Marina green space, including the use of 22 parking spaces, and apply up to a $500 discount to the park rental fee as outlined in the City of Grand Haven's special event policy. C, approve a special event request to hold the East End Market on June 3, July 15, August 19, and September 23, 2023, from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. in the East End Park, and apply up to a $500 discount to the park rental fee as outlined in the City of Grand Haven's special event policy. D, approve a special event request to hold the Grand Haven Pride Festival within the Marina green space at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium and in a portion of the Marina parking lot on Saturday, June 10, 2023, from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m., allowing alcohol to be sold and served during event hours. E, approve a special event request to hold Java Jam on Thursday, July 13, 2023, at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m., including use of parking spaces in the Marina parking lot, and apply up to a $500 discount to the park rental fee as outlined in the City of Grand Haven's special event policy. F, approve a special event request to hold Merchants and Makers at Chinook Pier on Saturday, July 8 and Saturday, August 12 from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m., allowing alcohol to be sold and served during event hours. G, approve an off-premises tasting room license and permit application from Armory Brewing Company, LLC, Grand Haven, Michigan, at their 17 South 2nd Street location to serve wine and spirits manufactured by Armory Brewing Company, LLC.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
And second?
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I do want to comment on the Pride Festival. Person I know in another community that lives in a different county recently posted on their Facebook page and it said, "I'm sorry to Ottawa County residents, but I can no longer spend my money in your county. Financial resistance was the hashtag." And the reason for the message from this particular person was that they didn't feel welcome in our county because of recent actions taken by our Ottawa County Board of Commissioners. And as the pastor gave the prayer earlier, he talked about us being hosts, being good hosts. And Mr. Kramer talked about Grand Haven being a space for everyone. And I think it's important that we send that message, that the Pride Festival may not be for you, and that's okay. This city council the last 2 years has passed a resolution recognizing LGBTQ Pride Month here in Grand Haven. I hope we do the same next month. But I think it's important that we are truly welcoming for all, that all folks understand that they belong here, that this is a space for everyone. We have all kinds of different events. Some people aren't comfortable going to certain events, certain concerts, and that's okay. But we are a welcoming community. We welcome the LGBTQ community. Want to celebrate Pride Month here in Grand Haven with the festival. I think I appreciate the work that's being done on it. We have a number of other events on our agenda where there's, we talked about 2 great committees where folks are stepping up. There's all kinds of just great events and people stepping up to give their time, the most valuable resource, to put on community gathering spaces, and make this a true sense of community. We have a fantastic community here. Happy to support the the Pride Festival here in Grand Haven. I just wanted to make that comment.
I agree, Ryan. We stepped forward to make it a welcoming community. And from the history of me being here, I always thought it was a welcoming, but was a lot of things were missing. And just recently, in the last 5 to 10 years, we have made great strides and moved forward into being a welcoming spot for anybody. It doesn't matter what race you are or what your beliefs are or anything. There is just so much happening in Grand Haven that we open the doors up and say, you are welcome. Please come to Grand Haven. Make yourself comfortable here. We don't want to go step backward, but I always want to move forward with it. So I'm supporting this 100% because we made that commitment as a council to move forward and making it a welcoming place. So thank you. Thanks for everything you said, so.
Good. Karen?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. And, you know, I think we've been having a lot of talks as a community through the Chamber and the Community Foundation's Tuesday Forum series about various aspects of community leadership. And one was diversity and inclusion and trying to help people understand what it feels like to be excluded. It's like that feeling in high school of being isolated, unwanted, not invited. And if we truly want to live that value and pass, you know, some resolutions around this, we have to be inclusive and open. I will tell you a story. I didn't go last year, but 2 years ago, I did go to Reverend Kramer's Mass on the waterfront, and it was beautiful. I just wanted to experience it, and I attended with a gay friend, and we were both really moved by it and thought it was a wonderful Mass. But at the end, what was more incredible is turning around when we greeted each other. There was a young person from Grand Rapids that had driven in just specifically for this Mass because he felt welcome. And it was just a really moving thing that you have to experience. I think it's wonderful that it's expanded to include a festival of sorts. So I thank you, Reverend Kramer, and all of the volunteers that are behind all of this, and I'm very supportive.
Okay, please call the roll.
Fritz?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
McNally?
Yes. Okay, one item of new business. Maria, would you read it for us?
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to award the Mulligan's Hollow Basketball and Parking Improvements Project to Caterberg Verhage in the not-to-exceed amount of $620,974.50 and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary agreements. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there support?
How about a second for discussion?
Okay. Is there discussion?
Mayor, if I may, I would just like to add, I know this project's been a long time in the making and you're very aware of what it is, as far as the basketball courts and additionally the implementation of ADA accessibility components to the parking lot near the Imagination Station. But I would also just like to reiterate, I think you know the options that are before you. However, I think it's worth noting, I was made aware later this afternoon, if we were, as you know, the DNR is not able to delay this project further, but if we were to forfeit the grant funding, we would, as a city, be penalized for that within the DNR system, and that would further limit our opportunity to obtain further grant funding through the DNR for the next roughly 10-year time frame. So there are consequences to forfeiting grant funding this far along in the process. I understand the sentiment and the circumstances, but it's worth your consideration at that point.
Thank you, Ashley.
And our engineer and projects manager are also in the audience as well if there are further questions.
You got
Maybe
questions?
just because it's been a while. And maybe have a kind of an overview of the project and what's planned, and what improvements would be coming with this.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, council. Thank you for having me. I'm Dana Culloware, the Special Events and Project Manager for the City of Grand Haven. And I apologize as I was fumbling to get up here. I had a lot of events on the agenda as well. So, Ryan, thank you for your question regarding what's being planned for the site. In your packet, it did have like a high-level overview of what was planned, and I can also provide additional detail as well following the meeting. But what's included are 2 new basketball courts and improvements to the existing parking lot that's adjacent to the Imagination Station Playground. We'll also be adding some site amenities to the area as well, so there'll be some ADA-friendly seating areas that Ashley was mentioning as well. We'll also have a retaining wall that is necessary for the soil erosion along Sherman Avenue with the addition of the parking lot. So there will be that additional element included as well. There'll be some small gathering spaces between the parking lot and the play space, and some picnic tables. So overall, this does align with the master plan that was established for Mulligan's Hollow a number of years ago and reinforced through the Parks and Rec master plan as well. So this is all consistent with those wishes at that time. So it'll be a nice addition to that area, and has been a long time coming, I think, for Mulligan's Hollow.
You want more than that, Ryan? Do you want to hear the engineer?
Not necessarily. No, I think that
Has, since it's about $100,000 over budget, has there any value engineering been done to see if we could bring this down a little bit without jeopardizing the grant? Because, and why I say that is, we have people on the East End, scraping.
Raising money for a $60,000 court,
Grayson, trying to raise money to put in a couple basketball courts, and,
Certainly.
it makes it hard.
Yep, after we received the bids, we did not go back and change the scope of the project, Kevin. I think, we could look at that, but I don't know that we'd be able to eliminate enough to still stay in compliance with the grant that we agreed to with the scope of work, because in that grant agreement, we did outline what would be included in the project. So I haven't taken a look at what we might be able to take out if that were the case. I don't know if our engineer has any suggestions, but...
I just want to know if anybody even looked at it. That's all I'm saying. I mean, so you pretty much took the existing scope, bid it, got a high bid. Well, I consider it a high bid, and this is kind of what we live with. And if we don't accept it, we surely could jeopardize future funding. So it kind of puts us between a rock and a hard place, I think.
Well, we are, as I mentioned, we're limited in what we can take out of the actual project based on what we agreed to.
And Sam Jablonowski with Abmarsh, the engineer that helped design the project with the city. And as Dana said, part of these grants with DNR is making sure we include, the ADA access elements, benches, other improvements. A lot of the costs associated with the basketball court, just getting that grade brought up so we can create a level surface for the play surface. So a lot of the cost of the project is involved in those elements. So those aren't things that we can really value engineer out. So I don't know if there's anything specific that we can take out of this. We did do an evaluation of the pricing just to see where it came in with where we've been seeing pricing going. And I think the items that have been heading up in the industry were the ones that came in higher. So it was pretty consistent with what we've been seeing across the industry.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, just a couple of things. The original project was approved by council in what year?
Because we had 2019?
2019.
I believe we received word of the award in 2019 in application. And then due to COVID and delays with the state and the National Park Service approvals, once everything was shut down, we didn't get our formal grant agreement until I believe 2022, and then now we have the bid process open. Bid came in 100,000 higher, so surely due to when we received that award, and then the couple of years did not do favors as far as materials and labor either. So it just a sheer cost difference at that rate.
But This did go at some point through city council.
Correct.
Because we had to do that before we applied for the grant, I presume.
We did
agreed.
approve the application as well as to receive the grant award.
And it also went before the planning commission as well for approval.
And actually, what fund were these? Is it public improvement funds? Is that where these were going to come out of for next year, or where was it?
Correct.
Okay. And how much do we have in our public improvement fund right now? Oh gosh.
I would have to refer back to our, I don't have it offhand.
Okay.
I can find it.
I'm putting it on the spot here with the question, but
Yeah, and we would have to, the additional 100,000 was not budgeted for, so it would be a matter of moving around other projects to accommodate.
which is common, right? I mean, this is, yeah, I mean, this has been on other capital improvement plans as we're hoping things would line up sooner than this too. So it's been in our capital improvement plan, I think, at least every year since I've been on council, and I think, like I said, that started shortly before I started, so we've been planning on it.
What the plans are gonna do down there is, if you know where the basketball courts are, they're in very disrepair, the asphalt is bad, and they're gonna improve that, extend it out, the green area out a little further away from the Imagination Station, and putting in some ADA compliant places for them to sit down and have a dinner and watch their kids there, and also make it more accessible for people with handicap to get in there and park, because the parking is going to be the whole front row. It's not just the basketball courts, and the basketball courts is just another amenity that was added to it to move them, so we still have a recreational area down there.
And
I know it's $100,000 over what was budgeted, but then again, if you take 3 years and what we've seen on everything that's come in lately.
Right.
it's all coming in that way.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what you bid nowadays, it's still coming in overbid. It's terrible that we have to do that, but.
Well, another thing I guess I'd like to put in here is Mulligan's Hollow is the recreational center of town. It's no slight, I don't believe, to the East End to invest heavily in Mulligan's Hollow, because I think it's used by kids from throughout the town. I mean, certainly the ski area is, and I know the skate park is, and I think that the center, the recreational center of town for a lot of the younger kids is Mulligan's Hollow. So I'm not, I guess, I get the comparison, Kevin, and I think it's what that would leave me to say is we need to find a way to invest more in the parks on the East End, rather than we don't need to invest in the parks at the park equipment at Mulligan's Hollow.
We just sent it out to bid for,
Luca Field.
For Sluka
Yeah,
Field to go out there
absolutely.
for a grant for that. We all okayed that, so.
Yep. And we're gonna face the same kinds of issues with
There's been
that.
improvements out there, we've done out there, and also, I was just talking about the basketball court. Mr. Forsman informed me that they've pretty much.
Secured the funding, or they're pretty close.
Yeah,
I
real
talked to
close. It needs more,
Brian
but
the other
the
day.
more the better it looks that it's done, but it's still, everything's positive right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear.
Mhm.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I guess what I do want to say is, I think this is, I think Mr. Hagan brought up some excellent points about where we're at financially. We know some things now that we didn't know several years ago, and we're uncovering more in terms of what some future liabilities are, which to me suggests, given the consequences of backing out the slate, in the game, that we should be looking at some of our 5-year capital projects and things that we are in the early stages of applying for grants, and trying to ensure that they are aligned from a fiscal responsible, because I'll be honest with you, what really gives me pause here is the consequences of pulling out, because we have so much on our plate with Harbor Island, and many other things as it relates to Eagle Forest Management Plan. There's just so much at stake. And so shame on us, not on you for not, picking this up earlier in the game, but because of those consequences, I feel like we do have, my vote would be to go ahead and approve it. But I would say on the back of that, let's get some headlights into those capital projects that might have been decided a long time ago, and we might be in the early stages so that we can reevaluate those as priorities. I totally agree with somebody who said, maybe it was Mr. Weavers, about our streets. Really, we really need to kind of get back to some of our basic needs and make sure that we're covering those. That's all.
Okay. Anybody further?
No, I really agree with those sentiments, especially with the penalty. That's even though it may not impact each state department's grants, it's still the state of Michigan to be saying, hey, here's $250,000 back.
And I would just like to reiterate, as I relayed to you at the budget work session, that staff is really trying to be intentional in looking at those revenues and expenditures, and we have already pushed back $1 million worth of capital improvement plans, or whether that be related to some of these wants or needs into future fiscal years, because we are trying to be really cautious as we know the financial obligations we are facing.
Right, it's one of those good pieces of, we have a basketball court there that needs some work, so we have, maintain what you got too, right? I mean, we continue to push, these capital needs out. They're just, the cost is going up and up and up, so it's just going to cost us more and more and more down the road too. So,
Okay. Maria, would you please call the roll?
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
yes.
Wait, wrong one. Oh, sorry. Don't vote for McLaughlin. McLaughlin?
I've seen that, I've seen that trying to be done in other places. Yes.
Cummins,
My apologies, yes.
McNally.
Yes.
Might move this along,
Okay. Report by City Council. I'm going to start with Ryan tonight. Got anything for us?
No, I think I made all of my comments earlier, so I'm good to go.
Karen?
Oh, I do. I just have a couple things. The Tuesday Forum series, I think I mentioned this, Mayor, last Tuesday, April 11th, Mayor McNally, Councilmember Fritz and I attended, you were there, right? I thought I saw you there. Attended the Tuesday Forum series sponsored by the Grand Haven Community Foundation and Chamber of Commerce, and the topic was transformative placemaking, creating vibrant, connected, and inclusive communities, with speaker and author Jennifer Vey. And one of the most important takeaways there about the placemaking is that that I took away, I should say, was that city government, local city governments need to create the community, including gathering spaces that future generations want to live in. So that was sort of powerful. And in these sessions, I will say they mix you up. They don't let Mayor McNally or Councilmember Fritz and I sit next to each other. We sit next to other people from Ferrisburg or from the BLP or from the school board. And I happen to be sitting next to Grand Haven Area Public School Board President Christine Baker, who sat and right next to me. And she brought home her very important takeaway that I thought I'd share. As the author talked about 4 of the most important components, she was really struck by the fact that civics, they talked about civic structures, meaning the BLP, city council, the school boards, that they have to be highly networked and working as a team and highly integrated and really good on the communication in order to be optimal. And because otherwise you kind of miss things that overlap. And I thought, wow, that is, and we started to just talk about some basic things like, the implication of the unintended consequences of some things that we might do here in council that could affect the per pupil, enrollment. Anyway, there's reasons why we can't attend each other's meetings all the time, but there should be some open communication and integration. The other thing that she brought up was the fact that if the vote passes on the millage and the bond, that the Lake Shore Middle School, and I think she was talking to you about this, Mayor McNally, that property, they would be moving out into the township. The middle school would be moving out of the township. And so there has to be a lot of community input, should that happen, about what happens to that zone, zoning in that space, where the school is, and what would be best for, the community. And I had mentioned various things like the Children's Museum coming to town. But anyway, it brought up some important points that we need to have, better communication. So I just want to encourage everyone. The whole entire series is free to all of the public, and you can go on the Chamber's website and see that, watch that for free, so you don't have to pay the event fee. And next up is something called Strong Towns, which the speaker is the gentleman that speaks on Strong Towns, Norm Van Eden Petersman, on April 25th. So watch for that. It looks to be very interesting. Secondly was I spent a little time on responding to some residents and some board members from the Kitchell-Lindquist Hartford Dunes Board, along with some folks from Ottawa County Parks, discussing sort of looking at our North Shore dunes, and went on a little trek out there on Friday. And one of the things that spurred that was they were alerted to the fact that our zoning for the North Shore dunes hadn't changed through the master plan, and that's because we didn't look at it. It wasn't part of what we were necessarily updating. But there's some interest because the 353-acre Ottawa Sands Park that is on one side of the land that we own in the North Shore Dunes, and then there's on the other side is the Kitchell-Lindquist Preserve, another 111 acres, and then you look across the water and there's Harbor Island, and they're all kind of affected by the watershed, and there's some interest in sort of engaging and making sure we talk with these folks about what's the future of that. I think in 2017 or 18, what was put on the master plan was green space / potential future development, and naturally they're concerned about the potential future development part of that in the space. So anyway, I just think it's important to kind of bring together stakeholders and understanding, what's going on there, and especially since there's some common interest relative to, to Harbor Island, that it's important to reach out and begin some conversations. And at some point, it might be really good to have some of these folks come and present to council. I'm not suggesting anytime soon, but I think it was very informative to really understand sort of some of the connections and what they're seeing because the wildlife doesn't know that there's a line that they cross, and there's a number of issues that we can either help or hurt one another in that effort. The last thing that I have is CapCon. This week, City Manager Lash, Mayor McNally, Councilmember Fritz, and I are going.
Not
Not going
to the conference.
You're
but,
going?
But I'm going to meet.
Okay.
Going to meet the legislators.
Okay, so we're going to, as many of you know, we did this last year again. Michigan Municipal League has their capital conference, and in the fall we went to their session in Muskegon. But this is where we as a municipality can take advantage of educational and legislative updates, as well as meeting with our state legislators, which are things that our city manager has scheduled for us to lobby on behalf of Harbor Island and other interests relative to the city. So it's been a busy week. That's all I have.
You done? I've got, pardon?
Oh, I'll say a few things.
Oh, did we get Mike?
Not about the Tigers, I hope.
Oh, no.
What do you got?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, anyways, talking about CapCon, last year, with the mayor and myself, and we went into and discussed Harbor Island. with our three major legislators. So this year, we're having a chance of meeting with one, and there are also some opportunities coming up that we'll be able to meet with some of the other legislators, not necessarily from our district, but out there, that we'd be able to talk to them. And actually, what I really want to talk about is Harbor Island for one thing, and see where we can get moving on that, but also talking about, I keep hearing the governor saying, fix those damn roads. And we need money here to take care of our roads, and not only our roads, but if you go to Muskegon, you go to Muskegon Heights, you go to Grand Rapids, you go anywhere you go, our roads, not just the highways, but also our infrastructure in our towns need it also. And I would like to discuss that with them when we get down there, so we can at least try and get some money to come back to all the communities a little bit. If we can get 100,000 or 200,000, it would be great, because that does a lot of paving, whether you like it or not. It takes care of a few streets for us, so whatever we can get would be really nice. And also I want to mention that this week is National Work Zone Awareness Week, and be on the cautious. Those orange barrels are out there, and Wednesday is Wear Orange Day, so that's to make sure that you know that. So
I don't think anyone should wear orange.
But
it's wear orange.
But it's
okay,
for
good to know.
It's for the work zone.
It's
for
because
work
of,
zone.
okay, well for that I
But
might.
that's what it all goes
I got a
with.
hunting vest. I could do that.
That's what it's for. It's for
Kevin, you
that.
got anything?
No, I'm good.
All right, I had one thing, and then I know Ashley's got something that I think all of us need to talk about, but our board meeting package includes a mayoral proclamation that I signed this week about an initiative called Talk Sooner Day, which I thought wasn't the best name for it, but I didn't name it, so I'm going to go with it. But I thought I'd give some explanation about how the proclamation came about. I received an email from the mayor of the city of Grand Rapids, Rosalind Bliss, inviting me and mayors from 6 other cities in Kent and Ottawa counties to join her in trying to change the narrative around April 20th, which is known in cannabis circles as 420 Day, and is sort of a holiday celebrating marijuana use and efforts to legalize marijuana. Mayor Bliss suggested we remind people that drug use among our kids is common and rising, that drug use by our kids has an adverse impact on our communities, schools, neighborhoods, and families, that the top trending drugs of choice for our youth and teens are noted as alcohol, marijuana, tobacco, e-cigarettes, vaping, and opioids, that a recent study showed 12% of West Michigan students in 7th, 9th, and 11th grades have used marijuana in the past 30 days, that marijuana is not safe for youth or teens, that it is harmful to the developing brain, affecting the parts of the brain that influence movement, coordination, memory, and judgment. Marijuana smoke deposits 4 times more tar in the lungs and contains 50 to 70% more cancer-causing substances than tobacco smoke, and using marijuana daily or near daily before the age of 18 increases the risk of developing a marijuana use disorder. That youth substance prevention efforts help create healthier communities, and youth and teen prevention resources like TalkSooner.org, powered by the Lakeshore Regional Entity, which is a West Michigan nonprofit. It provides talking tips and tools to help parents engage in regular conversations with their children and teen about drugs. There's a copy of my proclamation in the meeting packet. I encourage folks with kids in their lives to protect them by talking about the dangers of drug use, and like the proverbial advice about voting in Chicago, we should do it early and often. That's all I've got. Ashley?
First and foremost, I'd like to revisit a conversation about our 4th of July fireworks show. As you are aware, our previous firework provider had pulled out at a very late date, leaving us in a predicament as far as finding an alternative company that we're comfortable with and that could perform the show on the holiday itself, as we've had a strong tradition of having our show on the 4th. As you may recall, we did approve a company at the previous council meeting, but as our musical fountain committee and fireworks choreographing expert with the fountain committee has done some due diligence in trying to figure out logistics with the company that we anticipate on the 4th. And I just want to make you aware, it's worth noting that there has been some concern as far as this company's potential to launch a show similar to the standard that we are used to. That is not to say it'll be bad or it'll just be different, likely. So I guess it was worth bringing up due to the level of concern from our committee members. So our options really remain the same. Either we proceed with the company that was approved, the contract has not been executed, and that show would be on the holiday itself, but we would have to understand it could look different. Or we switch to our alternative company that could launch on the Saturday before, but it's a company that we are familiar with, and the show standard would be a known, and we'd have security in that. So,
Can I add, Ashley?
Yeah.
That Brad Boink is really our fireworks expert, and he's here if we want to ask him questions, but he's got real reservations about whether this company that we chose can launch a show. And for a variety of technical reasons, he sat down with Ashley and he sat down with me, and we've talked about it. And I am a great believer in fireworks on the 4th, but I don't necessarily believe that this particular company, they're a new company, they're relatively small, they haven't done an event of this size before, and their technology isn't really set up for it. And Brad can give you more details if you want them. He's here in the audience. Do you want more details? Yeah, Brad, can you tell us we're trying not to besmirch this company because I think they're well-intentioned, but some of the things Brad found out are probably worth listening to.
Yeah, some of the things that are great concern to me is, one, they're only a year old, so they haven't been around, they have not done this size of a show, and Grand Haven is an incredibly difficult launch location. There's so many different things that we have to take into consideration. A typical crew from like when Wolverine did our fireworks for 4th or Pyrotechnico is 10 people, minimal, and their crew is 2 people. And that leaves a lot of room for potential problems. But one of my biggest concerns is that they don't have any stock. They have to go out to market right now and find the fireworks through the wholesale market to do our show. I can tell you, I've been doing this for 23 years. If you're looking right now for fireworks, you're not going to get anything spectacular. You're going to get a bunch of 2, 3, maybe 4-inch shells and what we call cakes, which are just what typically fire rapidly off the shoreline that you'd use for like a grand finale or things like that. So it's not that they're a bad company, it's just they have no stock and they've got to go find it. They don't have a big crew. That's also concerning. And we're just getting into aspects like they do not have the technology to interface in with the fountain. Right now, the fountain is the master control unit for playing back the music, keeping everything in sync. We have a special time code. They cannot support that. One other big issue, technical-wise, that we came across is they were planning on launching all the fireworks via wireless system. Now, we've all been down on the waterfront during any of the festivals and know what it's like trying to get any kind of internet connection or anything else. The problem is their firing system falls into that 5G network spectrum, or 5 gigahertz, which is part of still the outer edge of the, basically your internet for your cell phones. You can't get a reliable signal to fire. So there is a huge possibility, because they can't do wired, they can only do wireless, that bunches of those shells may not fire. And they absolutely will not be in sync with the music. It'll basically be playing the music, and we have shells going off. But there will be no choreography because they cannot handle that technology. So those are the things that I found out.
And again, if you're willing to consider having the show on an alternative date this year, the contract could lead to reverting back to the 4th in coming years.
But we would have to do Saturday the 1st if
Yeah.
this
This
is the
year,
option.
right.
This year,
Yeah,
just
what
this
we
year.
do is we do Saturday this year with Pyrotechnico, who is the exact same company that does Coast Guard Festival. which means we get more shells because we are able to do a bulk buy. Plus, they know everything about this location. There's absolutely no problem. They have tons of stock. They bring in stock 2 to 3 years ahead. They will work on trying to get us on the 4th of July schedule, but what's really important is we have the 250th anniversary of the United States coming up. All the fireworks companies are booked out for that event already. And most of them are starting 4th of July at $80,000 for the show. Yeah. Pyrotechnico, if we go with them, has guaranteed us the 250th anniversary and guaranteed pricing for 3 years.
And the 4th is on a Saturday.
And the 4th is on a Saturday.
So, but
Well, I think we go with a guarantee, and we got to make a
I'm
change.
sold.
That's what I've heard.
Over the reliable
Sold.
source that, you
Yeah.
know, that
and
we can
change to
trust.
Saturday. So,
Yeah.
so
This
it's
year.
not on the agenda. We can't take a vote here. But what happened was when between the time we approved it last week and this came up, I hadn't signed the contract yet. So I'm not going to sign the contract. And on the next meeting, we will move forward. Do we need to do it sooner?
We will need to do 2 votes, because right now, because that first contract was approved, we are obligated to sign it. So council's gonna have to vote again to not sign that contract.
Right.
And then we can do the other
I
vote.
agree with that, though I don't think we have to do it yet. We can do it at our next meeting, right? Or can we?
I can work with Brad and the company to see how quickly they would need an authorized signature on a contract. At worst case, we may be able to, we have a joint meeting scheduled next week, we may be able to
We may
tag
be
onto
able
that
to have a
agenda for a
special
quick.
Verbal right now, Pyrotechnico is willing to do a verbal, and we'll get everything in place within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. Everybody okay we'll, Ashley will figure out and Maria will figure out the logistics of canceling the one vote or uncontracting, however it works. But I think that company isn't gonna act unless they get a signed contract, and
At least for the first, you could do the first vote now. The
we
meeting's still
can,
going, you can take.
so we can vote to, amend the agenda now, or add it to the agenda now?
You can make a motion at any point during the meeting.
All right, well, why don't, if everybody's online with that, are you guys, can we make a motion to,
I mean, we do have like a charter provision about actually adding. It takes 4 votes to add something on, and I
In
mean,
order
so-
to add it, we're supposed to do that with majority of 4 votes or more to add.
I mean, I don't think it said that we had to like sign by a certain date or anything like
Said
that.
he could take it
so-
verbal.
Yeah,
Well-
they'll take a verbal.
yeah, I'm not suggesting we vote to approve the Pyrotechnica, contract, but I am suggesting we perhaps vote to, reverse our approval of the last contract. That's the one that I would just as soon let those people know if we're not going forward. Is there support for that? I would need a motion to, and it's,
Are we allowed to do that? If you say
Yes.
we're allowed to do that, then I'll go ahead and make that motion.
so the motion, the motion is to, reverse our decision of the last meeting, approving the fireworks contract.
I still would feel more comfortable if we either
Well, let's
took an
get-
explicit
let's
vote
get-
to add this to the agenda in some way. I mean, we have a clear charter provision that says that we
Need to
cannot
have-
add things to
before
our
we can
agenda.
add it
that's-
to it.
Vote
That's
to
fine.
add this to
Right.
the agenda
Let's-
first.
Right.
Have a majority of 4 votes in order
But we
to
have
add
to
it the
decide
agenda.
what it is we're adding, right? So Karen's making a motion
To add
to add to the agenda cancellation of the contract for fireworks approved at the last council meeting.
I'll add the name of the group.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kevin, you're seconding
Yes.
her motion to add that to the agenda? Okay. And is there any discussion about adding it to the agenda? Okay. Maria?
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes.
And I would just like to reiterate for the sake of this company, it was not at fault of the company or anything. Any
No,
action they took,
understood.
just sheer logistics from our musical fountain committee, concerns that we are hoping to address with this.
There's no way the city manager would have had any clue to ask some of the questions that needed to be asked. It's just that complex of a show.
Brad, we just appreciate that you followed up. Brad's a volunteer, as you all know, and he followed up and asked the right questions and got us to the right place. We still have the need to, we've added it to the agenda, now we need to vote on it.
Move it and second it, yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
So then, should I make a motion that we
Yes.
Second.
reverse?
All right, so we all understand we've made a motion to cancel the fireworks contract we approved last week. And that's really all the motion says.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Take the roll.
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Brad, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And,
Your help.
and for your coordination going forward with
It'll be a
the deal with
fantastic show.
Pyrotechnica.
You won't be disappointed.
Okay.
It will be above the standards of what Grand Haven's used to seeing on Fourth.
That sounds nice, but we also need, we need to make sure it's not too extravagant. That's our,
We're keeping you with it, but matter of fact, Pyrotechnica is guaranteed pricing for the next 3 years.
okay.
So
that
there will
sounds
be
great.
absolutely no price increases.
All right. Thank you, Brad, very much.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, and Ashley, good work on this to get it back to where we
Yeah,
need to be.
and I apologize for the confusion as well. It was a bit of a scramble once we found out that we didn't have our standard company that we've utilized for the previous handful of years, so.
I think
Um,
everybody understands it.
In the next thing I had on my list here is the Community Energy Task Force, which is a subset of your Sustainability and Energy Commission. They're about ready to put out an RFP for the work that they've been gearing up and funding. So they're looking at this point for representatives of each governing body, including the BLP, to serve on a steering committee to evaluate the submissions from the RFP process. They had suggested Mike Fritz and Karen Lowe, but I would leave it to your ultimate decision on which two you would prefer, or if you would prefer to participate.
And the RFP is for the energy plan, the community energy plan? is
Correct,
that
to
what-
have the consultant come in
And Mike and Karen, are you willing to serve in those roles?
Yeah, I'm willing to do that.
Mike, is it something that you're able to do, or is it, you got enough on your plate? Is there anybody else who can volunteer?
I don't have anything on my plate.
I know you don't. It's, I don't,
When do they meet now?
To be determined. It'll be relatively minimal, just evaluating the submissions that come in, making sure all governing bodies are comfortable with what's the option that we proceed with.
This is with the other governing
don't wanna
body
do it, Mike, I can
stakeholders
help.
like the BLP.
but, or Kevin can.
Yeah,
help.
from the BLP service area, those governing bodies.
I'm good with that.
I'll make a decision.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Okay.
There we go.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep, volunteer votes for everything in this
I
family.
know, you volunteer for everything in this world. Okay, Mike and Karen. Yep, okay.
And then just again, a reminder, next week, on the 26th at 6 PM, we're planning on a joint BLP City Council meeting. Agenda will be released later this week. And that's really all.
Okay. I think we got the final call to the audience, which I try not to forget. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may call in at 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers tonight. Jim?
Yes, Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I've got 3 items I'd like to quickly mention. One is, if you look at some of the drawings that I sent out, you can see where the retaining wall is. The basketball courts can be rotated about another 15 degrees and get a whole lot more green space between the sidewalk and the retaining wall, which also should cut down on the height of the retaining wall. So that's something that definitely needs to be examined. I talked with the Abin March fellow, so we need to do it though. The other thing I'd like to just mention is I was a key member of the energy group. And I didn't want to see that big office building going out there in Harbor Island, and I didn't think the gas plant had sufficient capacity. But I do completely support our BLP. They've done a fantastic job on renewables. They are so far ahead of Consumers Energy and Detroit DTE. It's not even funny. They've done a great job, guys. I know we have a little bit of a problem with Harbor Island. You guys can get over it. And I hope this coming meeting, you guys work towards that. One thing, and I think having an appointed board for the BLP by the council is absolutely the wrong thing to do. Democracy is a key to the way we run things. So please do not even consider that. Keep electing people. It's a long 6-year term. There's a lot of technical people that they're not going to be probably always the favorite people, right? But they're good people for those jobs, and I think through an election, they're going to have a much easier time of getting those positions than a popularity contest by a council. The other thing I want to just mention, which I always mention, is Harbor Island. If you look at a pollinator garden, solar array, and you can also have batteries out there, the solar array itself will generate 4 gigawatt hours per year, which is about 600 houses. And I think I've sent pollinator garden pictures to a number of you. I know John Kinch has some of one of the gardens. I think it's in Lansing that now is maturing. They look great. Please don't consider, a solar garden as ugly and something that shouldn't be there. We need to do our bit for the sustainability of this planet. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim.
Good evening. Jacob Welch, 625 Franklin Avenue. I'll make this quick because it's pretty late now. So this amendment is being announced 7 months prior to the city election in November. There is plenty of time for community dialogue and discussion. It would not matter when it is announced. Of course, the BLP management would object. They would object at any point of our announcement. And 7 months of dialogue is a pretty long time. All the questions I can't answer today can be answered later. They can also be answered right now on blpccc.org. And the big question to look forward to is how many ratepayer dollars will be spent to maintain the status quo? And one final thing, all current BLP contracts and funds are protected. Please see the charter amendment at blpccc.org. It is all there. Thank you.
Okay. Meeting's adjourned.